Hello, lovelies. So today I want to dispel a lot of myths, and these are myths to do with entry-level requirements to top universities across the UK. So I know many of you have heard about this. Many of you have heard people saying it's very hard to get into the top universities. We're speaking Oxford, Cambridge, St Andrews, London School of Economics, and all the other top-ranking universities across the UK. But really, this is not true. It's not very difficult to get into these universities, and I'm living proof of that. So today, what I want to really pass across is that it is possible for anyone really to get into these universities. And the most important thing that you must do is to prepare, and prepare. But don't rule yourself out. So in this series of videos, I'm going to talk about different techniques that you can use to ensure that you have a bulletproof application such that by the time you're applying to these top universities, you have a very high chance of getting admission and also getting scholarships. Because one thing about these top universities is that, or just universities in the UK in general, is that they're very expensive. And it might not always be possible to self-fund or to register as a self-funded student. So it helps when you can get full scholarships or partial scholarships depending on your circumstances. But really, as long as you tailor your application really well and you write your personal statements and recommendation letters properly, you shouldn't really count yourself out, regardless of whether you got a second class upper or a second class lower. There's still always a chance, and that is what I'm going to cover. So for this sort of introductory video, what I want to emphasize on is that for these applications, really what they look for is not just your academic achievements. Of course, academic achievement ranks as one of the top requirements that will be listed in websites. Even when you go and search on the admission portals, you'll see them mentioning the admissions requirements and where they talk about qualifications at that point. So really, for example, if I start with the master's level, for master's degree study, the most basic requirement that you need is a bachelor's degree. So that will be your first degree. And there are different grades that you can get during your bachelor's degree. The top grade being the first class honors or distinction, followed by the second class upper, and then the second class lower, and then the pass. First class honors are usually very good because that will always indicate that you have a very high potential of being admitted. That goes for second class upper as well. So as you go lower than that, second class lower to pass, then it becomes more tricky to get the admission unless you know the tips and tricks that you can use to tailor your application so that you stand a better chance. And then another thing is when you're international students, of course, you're not UK citizens, then you have to also adhere to other requirements such as English language tests, making sure that by the time you're starting your application, at least you have a passport, then ensuring you're keeping in touch with your previous lecturers and tutors so that they can write recommendation letters for you. So these are the key things that really must be there. So in a separate video, I'll talk about what you need to do if you have any grade lower than a second class upper. What can you do so that you can get admissions as well as a scholarship at a top university here in the UK? But that aside, I want everyone who's listening to this video to know one thing, that these opportunities are accessible to everyone. They're accessible to everyone, and you don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be able to cram the entire encyclopedia in your sleep to be able to get into a university like Cambridge or Oxford. They're accessing candidates with diverse portfolios, getting admissions and even scholarships at these top universities. and it's really possible. I studied in a provincial school in Kenya. That means that it's just a level under the national schools by the time I was doing my high school studies, and I was still able to get into one of the public universities in Kenya. And when I graduated, I applied for and was admitted to University of Oxford to do my master's degree under a full scholarship by the UK government. So if I was able to get from that point, studying at the provincial school, all the way to making it to Oxford for my master's degree, then it's possible for really anyone to make it there. So those are some of the things I'm going to cover. And then something that is really important is, aside from academic qualifications, the thing that I see, the area that I see candidates struggling a lot with, and an area that fails a lot of people, is the leadership potential. So what do I mean by leadership potential? Well, this is what I mean. Aside from your papers, your grades, and what you do in class, scholarship providers or funders are usually very interested in that extra thing that you do. So aside from your grades, what makes you unique, Do you have any leadership potential? And if you do have leadership potential, can you demonstrate it? So I see a lot of students trying to write or giving examples of leadership roles that they've held in the university, such as the chairman of the Christian Union or the treasurer of the maybe BSc program club or society that they founded, something like that. So roles that they undertook when they were in university, student leadership, those are good examples of leadership roles, using those roles as a way to demonstrate your leadership potential. But really, they're not enough. And this is a fact, they're not enough. So you need something extra. And that is also something that I'll cover in subsequent videos, talking about really what does leadership potential mean, and what are some of the examples that can instantly catch the eye of funders and make them think, oh, well, this student stands out and we'd like to consider them for this scholarship. So there are various ways you can do that. So aside from academic qualifications, we talked about leadership potential. There's a third thing, actually. So let's say you're applying for a master's scholarship. So for this series of videos, I'm going to talk about graduate level study, so not bachelor's degree entry requirement. I'm going to talk about master's degree entry requirement as well as PhD. So let's say, for example, you've demonstrated your academic credentials, you've talked about your leadership potential. So what is missing? Remember, when you're going for graduate studies, that is master's and PhD, usually your admissions panel will want to know whether you have a certain skill set or experience required for that level of study. And usually this involves maybe internship experience as well as attachments, or any job experience that you've held that has been able to help you demonstrate some of the skills that they're looking for. For example, in my case, I did a bachelor's degree in biochemistry. And after that, I did an internship, a scientific-based internship where I did research in malaria. So when I was writing my personal statement, this helped a lot because I was able to demonstrate that I had the sufficient research skills that were needed for me to pursue a rigorous master's degree program. If you're not able to demonstrate extra research experience, usually you stand a lower chance of getting admission into top universities. You still might get admission into a university, yes, but it might not be the top ones. Usually top universities will want you to be able to demonstrate some skill set other than, the skills that you acquired during your degree study. That is unless your bachelor's degree study was very rigorous and you had several research opportunities that allowed you to engage your core skills during your bachelor's degree study. So I know in some countries like the US, they have very rigorous bachelor's degree programs that allow students to really demonstrate their skill set and work in leading research laboratories across that particular country. But if your program was not like that and you did not have the opportunity to demonstrate your research skills, then it helps to get an internship or an attachment after you finish your bachelor's degree. So those are the three key things that I'll be covering: academic credentials, leadership potential, as well as research and work experience that are relevant to admissions for graduate level studies, as well as securing full scholarships for the same level of study. So if you're interested in that kind of content and you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to secure these opportunities, follow my channel. You can subscribe, share, like, and comment, and watch the rest of the videos, because these are going to be very helpful to you and also very helpful to anyone in your network. So feel free to share these videos. All right. Thank you.